All right. Thanks everyone for taking some time to zoom into this. We are pretty fortunate today to be joined by Ricky Zum Mallen. Ricky is the Assistant Athletic Director for Marketing at Eastern Michigan University. I've had the pleasure of working with Ricky in a past life, and I think you all are going to get a lot out of this talk. So, Ricky, thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely, Chris. Happy to be here.
So, just to start off, just tell us a little bit about your background and kind of when you decided that you wanted to work in sports.
Sure. So I was, growing up, like a lot of people, I was always a big sports fan. Watched a lot of college and pro games on the weekends. Played sports through high school. Was on the golf and baseball team in high school. So, sports were always a big part of my life. Played just about every sport growing up. And then when I went to college, I initially just went to school as a marketing major. I was at Loyola University, Chicago, and an advisor told me, it's actually pretty easy to double major within the School of Business. Here are some other majors, and the one that jumped out to me was sport management. So kind of looked into that and added that as a second major. And that was really, in my intro to sport classes was really when I learned a lot about just the career opportunities that were out there. And, I always loved going to, Cubs games or, the college games at Loyola. But, it was really in those classes that I learned about all the different avenues and different areas and what it takes to make those games run. And the combination of marketing and sport management kind of led me into the game presentation and fan engagement path that I'm on right now.
That's awesome. So, talk us a little bit through when you graduated Loyola. Where did you go next?
So I went to Southeast Missouri State, got my MBA, and was the graduate assistant there. Actually, that's where I met Chris. And he was working in compliance. I was working in marketing. Had the opportunity to get a lot of really great experience. Very small staff down at SEMO, so I had the opportunity to really take the lead on some of our teams. A lot of people as a GA aren't running women's basketball or baseball or volleyball on a regular basis. I had that opportunity to jump right in and really take the lead with those sports. So it was really an awesome experience. And then from there, graduated with my MBA in 2014 and spent a year at the University of Tulsa as a marketing assistant. And then was actually able to reconnect with one of my mentors who gave me my first job as an intern at Loyola. He had gone from Loyola Chicago to Temple University to be their deputy AD, and a full-time marketing coordinator position had opened up at Temple. I was able to apply and get that job and spent 3 years at Temple before jumping out here to Eastern Michigan as the assistant athletic director.
Awesome. Well, a very fast trajectory. Certainly, I know your skill set, so it makes a lot of sense. But just for our students, we read these different titles: marketing coordinator, assistant
Yep.
AD for marketing. Can you kind of talk us through what's the kind of big differences as you climb the ladder into different roles? How do things change?
Absolutely. So, marketing graduate assistant and marketing assistant can be very similar. Obviously, the grad assistant is taking grad classes as well, but then it's kind of that low man on the totem pole. You're in the office every day. Really, the only people that report to you are those student interns. But then the opportunity to grow that marketing coordinator, that full-time role, a little bit more leadership responsibilities at football games at Temple. I was the number two person. So that meant that as our assistant athletic director was running the show and directing all game presentation, I was down on the field with our interns and our staff, just making sure that any on-field recognitions or promotions with students really went off well. And then I was leading volleyball, women's basketball, and just all efforts in those trying to get fans to come out to games, buy tickets, any in-game activities that we have going on, video board elements, directing all of that, building it all in a game script, and making sure that our fans that come out to the game have a great time.
That's awesome. So, just thinking about your current role, what kind of opportunities and challenges do you have within that space?
Yeah, it's definitely been exciting coming here to Eastern Michigan. Every school is a little bit different. Temple had a bit more of a staff, certainly an energized fan base. From the time that I was there, the basketball team, both men's and women's teams, made the NCAA tournament in separate years. Football team really took off, had some great years, won the American Athletic Conference in 2016. So really an energized fan base at Temple, and then coming here to Eastern Michigan, where there's not that level of success in recent years. So really beneath the kind of the challenge of showing our fans that, hey, we've now been to 3 bowl games in the last 4 years, back-to-back bowl games in 2018 and 2019 for the first time in school history. We have a lot of other elements to be proud of with our track and field teams winning multiple conference championships. So just kind of keeping fans engaged that way, and getting out on campus. And we're a little disconnected from students, with our athletic campus being about a mile off of main campus. So we trying to find ways there to get students. We have shuttles running from main campus to football games on game days, coming to same thing for basketball games. So really trying to get their engagement that way. But then, opportunity wise, there was a lot to be able to build towards. We have a really great team in place across our external units, and meaning all of our the different areas that work with people outside of the athletic department. So our media relations, marketing, ticket sales, and corporate sponsorships. We have a really awesome team there, just trying to reach out to the community, get more people engaged. And we've done an awesome job of getting students involved and really keeping them involved now that we're all kind of working from home, or students aren't necessarily in person for classes. Keeping them involved via social media and email communications, and just giving them fun ways to interact with our student athletes, even though they can't come out and be at the games in person.
Wow. Well, you sort of answered it, but I mean, what kind of new challenges are you facing with COVID? How have you all had to adapt to this changing landscape?
Yeah, our biggest change really came in August when the Mid-American Conference announced that they were not going to be having a football season this year. Our administration, I really credit our athletic director, Scott Weatherby. He has remained dedicated to, we're not going to cut jobs. We're not going to have any extensive furloughs. So, he was able, he really put our external team on, what can we do to generate revenue? Well, even though we can't sell tickets. So the big thing that we all put our heads together with and came up with 3 different virtual events. The first of which was a virtual golf outing. Anyone that golfs is familiar with a scramble style golf outing. Get your group together, and the lowest score wins. But instead of everyone being at one course on one day, we had it spread out over a 10-day span, and you could go to any course in the country and then just report how many under par you were. So you would send us a picture of your scorecard, and it was a $40 per person entry fee. So that didn't include their greens fees, but all participants received an Eastern Michigan golf towel, a branded ball marker, and Eastern golf tees, and a commemorative scorecard. So we shipped stuff out to 15 different states, people from Texas and California down to Florida. So a lot of alumni really got engaged that way. It was a really fun to see the different courses that people were sending in pictures of, and had a lot of different social engagement to go along with it. If someone posted a picture of themselves wearing an Eastern Michigan polo on the golf course, they would get an automatic mulligan to use for their team. So a lot of fun ways to interact with people there. Really was an awesome revenue generator for us. We also did a silent auction piece to go along with it. Some of our coaches got involved with that. People could bid on the opportunity for a round of golf with our women's coach, and a couple of different items donated from different teams. So that was an awesome event. We did a virtual 5K around homecoming to keep fans engaged, even though they couldn't be we didn't have a homecoming football game for them to be there cheering us on. They could get engaged that way. And then since then, we've done a fan box, a merchandise box that we've kind of pitched as a holiday item. We actually just it was available up until this week. So we just closed sales on that, but had some awesome responses on that. Sold a lot of those. So between those three events, though, we've been able to generate more revenue than we made from basketball season tickets last season. So
Wow.
across three events, really just an awesome benchmark for ourselves to hit, to surpass that number. Now our season tickets for basketball aren't as high as you have at Kansas, but for us, we're still really excited about that, and being able to generate some revenue and keep our department moving in the right direction.
That's awesome, and definitely a feather in your cap for everyone
Yeah,
in the department, because that's the definition of adaptability. That's cool stuff.
absolutely, absolutely.
So, flashing back to when you're double majoring in marketing and sport management to where you are now, what sort of challenges did you face in terms of not only breaking into the industry, but sustaining and then ultimately climbing the ladder?
Yeah, when I added sport management as my second major, like a lot of people, especially going to school in Chicago, I was like, oh, I want to be the GM of the Chicago Cubs. You know, we all know that that takes a lot of steps. There's a lot of different paths to reach that level. But the more I kind of looked at different avenues, I ended up getting an internship with the athletic department at Loyola. I really just fell in love with college athletics. As much as I love baseball, I realized that I'd rather just go to a baseball game and enjoy it. The idea of working 80 some home games a year wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do. But having that, the kind of the structure around the school year, the excitement of college athletics, and the changing sports, I think really got me excited. The opportunity to, if football's having an off year, you have basketball to look forward to. If basketball's having an off year, you have baseball or softball to look forward to. Something about it's always changing. It kind of keeps you on your toes, keeps these things from getting stale. But I just love the campus atmosphere. And that was really kind of what really led me to wanting to work in college athletics. My mentor, Dr. Patrick Kraft, who's actually now the athletic director at Boston College, he really pushed me towards, look at a graduate assistant position. If you don't want to stay in school, I understand there's marketing. You can try for a marketing assistant, but those are a little more harder to get. Really try and focus on a graduate assistant position somewhere that you can get some awesome experience and keep working in the industry while they pay for your master's. So that's how I ended up down at SEMO. Nate Savarino had posted the graduate assistant position down there, interviewed with him. It really just kind of worked out for both of us, and ended up down there for 2 years, and it was an awesome experience, like I said. So there's definitely, it's had some awesome mentors along the way. It's definitely a competitive field, but I love it, and it's been great to learn and experience different areas.
That's awesome. You've mentioned two of your mentors. I mean, could you talk a little bit about what kind of the role of mentors have been in your career
Yeah.
and kind of just the importance of having a mentor?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been extremely fortunate to have some great bosses in my now nine. This is actually my ninth season, 10th season, something like that. Started fall of 2011, but been able to fortunate to have some great bosses that become tremendous mentors. Nate giving me my first job out of college. Working with him, and then Phil at SEMO, and then one of my most influential mentors that really was my boss at Tulsa. She left shortly after I did. We actually moved here to Michigan, where I am now. She was actually an alum of Eastern Michigan University, and kind of helped me in that interview process. But her name's Katie Thompson. She now actually works for Google with their sports and live events side. So having them to just be able to, so different people just be able to reach out to and say, what do you think of this? I'm looking at this job. What are your thoughts on that? Or I have this event coming up. We have something new that I've never worked with before. Do you have any similar experiences? Being able to, pick people's brains in that way, and, reach out and then have that connection so Katie Thompson knows just about everybody. She was at Maryland for 3 years. And now a lot of people that work with Google Ads, which is most of the college athletics world, knows her name. being able to connect that way, and just being able to pick their brains on stuff, people that have more experience, being able to talk to them about things, whether it's a job or struggling at the current position. Being able to have those different areas has been super helpful.
That's fantastic. Well, you've had a lot of successes throughout your career and even a really short amount of time, relatively speaking. But as you think back on your career, what's been your biggest success in starting your journey into working in sports?
Um, that's a good one. Biggest success, probably just um, you know, being able to find those areas to move on and move upward. I set myself a goal when I was actually working at Tulsa with Katie. Set myself a goal to be an assistant AD by the time I was 30. Um, I got there for that one. I've checked that box, but it just wasn't necessarily a okay, now I've done that and I'm sitting back. But it's I've been very lucky to have some awesome people around me. My wife now is extremely supportive of, you know, we know we have to move somewhere else oftentimes to move up. So, we're good partners there. So it's definitely, but I think that's probably been my biggest success, would be being able to find those areas and connect with the right people to help me move up while learning every step of the way.
I think that's a fantastic accomplishment. Well, final question for you. We have 163 students pretty hungry to get involved in the sport
For sure.
industry. If you could just give them a couple words of advice, what would you tell them?
I would just say to recognize every opportunity to learn. Don't and understand that there's gonna be some paths that take you, outside of what you are necessarily comfortable with. When I was graduating from SEMO, I thought I was going to go right to that full time job, and be one of the top guys at in the marketing department. But had I not been able to go to Tulsa, got the experience there, I wouldn't be where I am today. Learned a ton there. So be open to experiences. Understand that it's a long journey. You're not going to be the AD at Kansas in 5 years. It's just not how it works. But there's some awesome experiences, and whether you're working in marketing or ticket sales or compliance or any of those areas, there's definitely paths to success everywhere you go. I think that's what I love so much about college athletics is, there's ADs that come from all sorts of different backgrounds. You don't have just look across the country and see, okay, everyone followed this path to success.
Hey, well, that's fantastic advice. Ricky, thank you again for joining us. And uh, students, listen up. This is great advice. So thank you.
Yeah, happy to help, Chris. Thanks for having me.